a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock.
Hello. Welcome to the Bold Moves podcast. I am the host, Mandy Bryce, and I am super excited about episode number 315. Today, I am sharing with you my interview with Sahara Rose De Vore, which I discovered mid-interview that is from near my hometown in Wisconsin, which is really exciting. And both of us have left Wisconsin, which is not always common for Midwesterners. She is a travel coach and has made so many adventures all over the world and helps other people do the same. I think you are going to love our conversation. And without further ado, here's my interview with Sahara Rose De Vore. Hello, everyone. Today I am chatting with Sahara Rose De Vore. Welcome to the show, Sahara.
Hi, Mandy. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. So, of course, you know that the show is called Bold Moves, and you wouldn't be sitting here chatting with me if you hadn't made some. So I would love to hear a bit about you and your story, and of course, some of the risks that you've taken along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a world traveler. I studied hospitality and tourism management in university. And when I graduated, I realized that the industry wasn't offering me a job that was suiting my desire for how much I wanted to travel. At 22, I really hadn't been to many places, but I just had a fire within me for so long to go and see the world. I'm an only child from a single mom, so it always seemed so far out of reach for me, for someone in my situation to be able to go and explore the world and visit those places I had always seen on television and in movies and magazines, but it was just such a dream of mine. So after graduating, I made a promise to myself that I was going to figure out a way to be able to go and adventure around the world on my own. And I decided to, change the way that I was managing my money and making my money. And I found every odd-end job that I could. I was at one point working up to 5 jobs while finishing my senior year of university. Wow. And it was, I really dedicated my time and my effort to being able to, accomplish this goal of mine. And I was living in Chicago, so it's not cheap to live there. So it forced me to change the way that I saw money and treated money and how I manage my money. So everything from, even picking up coins on the streets were valuable to me, or, going through my clothes and selling stuff that I wasn't using in a while. So I was able to save enough money by the time I graduated. And I decided to pack a bag and go off to explore the world, because I either had an option to continue down the expected path in life, whether that's, graduating from university and finding a career and finding, falling in love and starting a family and buying a house and all those things that are ideal. But at that time at 22, it didn't feel right for me. There was more in life I wanted to achieve. Didn't know exactly what, but I also didn't know who I was at the time. So sure. I turned to travel to help me figure all of these out. And I had so many questions that I couldn't really fully form yet, but I knew that were lingering. So little enough, I fell in love with travel, and fast forward over 10 years, I had traveled to over 84 countries by the time that I'm 31. And it's my full passion and my love in life. So that's kind of where my whole journey started.
I love that. So where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin in the States.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm
from Racine. So small world.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because you said Chicago, and I was like, oh, okay, I probably know where. And I was wondering, Chicago, or what you say to people who don't know Chicago and you mean a suburb.
I know, right? No, I'm originally from Milwaukee, and that's where I'm currently at right now.
Okay, awesome. What part of Milwaukee?
In the Wauwatosa area.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah, I just got back from a trip, so I'm just home for the holidays, which is really nice.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So what are you doing then when you're traveling? So you obviously have to make money somehow, and of course you're exploring, but I'd love to hear there's probably no such thing as an average day for you, but maybe an average week or something similar to give us kind of a glimpse of what that life is like for you?
Yeah, so it's definitely different now that I started my own business, but my beginning years of just traveling, it was really, I dedicated my time to just taking in everything that traveling had to offer.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to go and explore. So I was conscious about the places that I chose to visit. I wanted to connect with nature. I wanted to meet new people, and I wanted to learn more about myself. And I knew throughout my journey, I was learning what felt right for me. And I knew that I was always drawn to places with bodies of water because it always calmed my sense of anxiety. It always gave me time to reflect. But then I also loved meeting new people and exploring new cultures and really diving deep into, the different cuisines and the street markets. Those are always some of my favorite things to do. So if a place has a really lovely local street market where I can not only try new foods, but I can also buy little trinkets that are authentic to the location, and really being able to engage with the locals and, seeing their perspective on the world is always interesting as well, especially being from the United States. And then also, sharing their traditions and seeing what's the normal for them, and really just opening my eyes to, the generosity and the kindness that the world really holds. And, shifting my perspective on my own life and my own self, and taking that and applying that to who I want to be, in the long run, and, what kind of life I want to live. So really just the day to day was depending upon where I was at, but usually I go to warmer weather type of places, and, I'm definitely a beach bum, but, and of course a nature person. So I am always on hikes and going to viewpoints and seeing, the scenery and just taking in, natural beauty that isn't always where I'm from. So just going and seeing what the world really has to offer, and just, making these mental paintings of how beautiful the world really is.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. So what are some of your favorite places you've been?
Yeah, that's always a tough question with 84 countries under my belt. But I actually just got back from Israel, and it had been a place that had always been on my list to go to, but it's kind of isolated, in a certain region of the world. So I finally made it there, and I really fell in love with the country. So that is definitely at my top of my list now. And I'm actually planning to be going back very soon, despite already coming from there. But that and the Philippines is always one of my favorites, because the people, not only are the beaches beautiful and the water beautiful, but the people are just some of the nicest and most welcoming and generous people that I've ever met. And so the Philippines is always a place that I've been there twice, but a place that's always on my go back to list too.
I love that. That's definitely on our list. My husband's half Filipino and his mom is from Manila. So we intend to make it there at some point, hopefully soon. But
yeah, you have to go. It's so beautiful. There's so many beautiful islands. I ended up living there after the super typhoon hit. I think in 2015 it was. And I ended up living on a small island and helping however I could and stuff. And then revisited a year later to see how it was all rebuilt and how they're just really thriving now, and just, how they bounced back from such a travesty. And there's so much, just to see the change in the positivity and stuff, how they took such a scary situation and turned it into something that is just like helping them like soar in not only business but just in life in general. So it's a beautiful place.
Oh, I believe it. That had to be really heartwarming too, to see the progress in just a year.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Fantastic. So you mentioned that your life has kind of changed, or your travel style or schedule has changed since you started your own business. I'd love to hear more about that, what your business is, and then how that has impacted how you travel.
Yeah, absolutely. So for so long, like I said, I studied hospitality and tourism management, and that was almost 10 years ago, or over 10 years ago, that I graduated. So the travel industry has really molded and shifted over the years. So when I was traveling was really a prime phase in this shift in the industry with the rise in technology and the internet and platforms and bloggers and then of course social media and the internet as well. So I was really engulfed during my travels in this incredible time, not only in the travel and hospitality industry, but also in the internet and social media world. So, but I still at the same time struggled for a while to really find an authentic means to apply what I know and love and believe in travel and my experiences and turn that into a career that I was really passionate about and really aligned with me. So I trusted in myself and trusted in my own journey. And by the time I turned 30, so it was about 10 years after beginning my travels, I said, okay, if I want to have a business that really is aligned with what I want, I'm going to have to start it myself. And I started my own travel coaching business because not only do I love to talk about travel, and I really find it important for others to travel on their own terms, on their own budget, their own time frame, because there's just so many benefits that you can get from traveling, and everyone really travels for their own reasons, whether they're in tune with it or not. And a lot of it is for a lot of healing purposes as well. And so those are kind of things that opened my eyes throughout my journey as well. The different reasons why people were traveling, the stories I heard, the people I met, and, being active on social media and in blogs and seeing why people were turning to travel, how it was helping them as well. So all of these things I was kind of taking mental notes on and realizing that there's such a power behind travel that really isn't being acknowledged or tuned into to its highest potential, not only in the for the average traveler, but also in the corporate space. So I decided to, as a travel coach, which a year ago, there was really no buzz about travel coaching at all, which has definitely improved and increased in the past year that I've noticed. But that was really also an exciting time for me. Instead of another bold move I did, instead of running away from an idea that didn't exist really, or people reached out and said, oh, I don't know what that is, never heard of it, is that a real thing? I embraced that and I took it and I created what's called the Travel Coach Network, because I said, I know that this is helping people travel in a way that I believe in and a way that I know can help them. But my perspective is so different from every other traveler, has something new to bring to someone. Someone can relate to another traveler in another way. I wanted to create a bridge for the travelers and those desiring to travel. And so in the Travel Coach Network, I'm growing a community and I help other passionate travelers figure out what their own voice and niche in the industry is and how they can turn that into a thriving business like I have. So that's one half of what I do, which is super exciting. But the other half is I created a framework, which I call the Travel Coach approach, but it focuses a lot on empowerment and education behind the wellness benefits of travel, as well as, the importance of human connection and powerful storytelling as a traveler, and a few other points. And I apply that to the corporate world, and for employees in the workplace, as well as for business travelers. So I really dove deep in this past year into both of those areas, and attended events and different summits and made a lot of connections and did a lot of research and found, the problems of those industries and why there's a continuation of burnout despite the rise in corporate wellness programs, and, where the problems lied with travel policies and really just, and then also, what's going on with the wellness of constant business travelers called road warriors. Oh, my dog is going to make an appearance back there.
So cute, little fluffy.
I know. So I took my framework and I implemented it into these different areas, and to really essentially talk about why it's important for not only employees in the workplace to use their vacation days and their paid time off. And because there's actually in the US in 2018, almost half of the Americans didn't use all or most of their paid vacation days.
I heard that, and that's mind-blowing to me.
I know, but it's not that people don't want to. People want to travel. How many times do you hear people say, oh, I can't wait to go on a vacation. I need a vacation. but there's so many issues that lie behind and reasons behind that, including a big one is company culture. The lack of encouragement and support to go and travel, causing a lot of fear with employees. And also people are not travel experts. A lot of people hand over their travel plans to a travel agent, which one can maybe cost them too much money and causes more stress upon them. But also studies even show that, being involved in your travel planning process really sparks your endorphins and your happiness hormones weeks before you even go on your trip. So it really is there's a lot more to traveling that can be really tuned into that I noticed that isn't. But at the same time, the industry for, corporate wellness, as well as for business travel and travel in general, is really taking shape and taking action. So it's a really exciting time for all of that. So that's kind of where I come from with my travel coaching business and this new idea that I've kind of come up with and created.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, because you mentioned that previously there were no travel coaches, and that term is still unfamiliar to me. I think I have probably a guess what that involves. And then I would also love to hear too more about what you're doing and how it's working with these corporate programs, because like I said, I had heard that statistic before and it surprised me so much, but I could see that. I mean, I've been self-employed for a really long time, so that hasn't impacted me, but I would love to hear more about what you're doing with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So as for the travel coaching, it's, I always say in my terms, in my definition, travel coaching is it's different for every travel coach. You can't embody a travel coach like you can a travel agent. Everyone has their own specialty and perspective. For example, one of the big inspirations for me was the fact that I had a lot of people coming to me asking for travel advice, and I found that I could talk about what I did know and experience, and from maybe a solo female traveler, maybe someone with anxiety traveling, whatever was authentic to myself. But then I would get questions from people asking me, hey, I'm a single mom and I want to travel, or, I want to go on, I need to work on my relationship with my husband, and, what kind of experience should we go and have? Or maybe I'm of a certain, race or religion that, and they have specific questions. I couldn't answer those questions.
Sure.
And therefore travel coaches, they build a business based upon what is authentic to them and what they personally have experienced. So I focus a lot on the wellness side of travel. So I focus on what's called intuitive wellness travel. So that just means diving much deeper into the purpose behind traveling and how you can tune within yourself to, create experiences that are going to give you the results and benefits that you're looking for, that you can apply to your personal life and then of course your work life. So that's really the type of travel coaching that I focus on. But yeah, travel coaching is just very unique for every travel coach, and also how they go about helping people is very different too, whether it's personal coaching programs or whatever it might be. And then as for the corporate space, it's just super exciting. I do speaking for the Global Business Travel Association. So just seeing the reactions and the excitement behind this area that really isn't talked about. Wellness is a big thing right now for business travel, but I noticed in the industry that it really focuses a lot just on sleep, diet, and exercise, which are of course very important, but yet the continuation of burnout tends to happen with constant business travelers. So I introduced an idea that is more about the experience. You might have heard the term bleisure, that's going on. A lot of that's more common. A lot of platforms and companies are trying to integrate some sort of experience or leisure activities or extended vacations or stays for business travelers. So the industry is starting to make changes in that and pick up on the importance of really optimizing on the business trip instead of having it be a detriment to the overall health of the business traveler. Because like I said, the science behind travel the studies show that travel can help you and benefit you in certain ways, but only if done mindfully.
Right.
So it's a very new concept, and it's very different, especially in the corporate space and the business travel space, where everything is based on, the bottom line and about numbers. But at the same time, the industry is really starting to take personalization and well-being and self-care a lot seriously. So there's just a lot of room for growth for it. And the same thing for the corporate wellness space. I'm the coordinator for the Global Workplace Wellness Summit for next year, for 2020. So the same thing, just seeing companies who focus on corporate wellness programs are so excited about the new idea of, enhanced travel for their employees, or, really prioritizing travel in their corporate wellness programs versus everything they've already done, like yoga, meditation, healthy foods, and stuff like that. So for me, it's really exciting, but also to see the reassurance and the reactions and stuff from the corporate space is really enlightening.
So I'm sure that you could speak for hours about it, and that you probably will at this summit, but I'm curious what that looks like for business travel and how that changes it. So I know you mentioned like extended stays. So would that mean instead of going for your meeting or conference or whatever, turning around and coming back right away, but having maybe a day to go do cool things or relax, or how, like, what are some of the suggestions that you give to these corporations to implement?
Yeah, so since the leisure topic's being tossed around a lot in the corporate business travel space, it depends on every company offers something different for their travelers in their travel policies. But what a lot of them are doing on the dime of the business travel, they're able to either arrive a few days early or stay a few days after, or adjust it so maybe it's a weekend instead, so they have more time. But the reaction that I've got from, or what I've heard from a lot of business travelers, is that, they have some extra time here and there, or they chose to stay longer or arrive earlier. But now that they have this time, so like I said, not everyone's a travel expert. They didn't know what to do with the time. They don't know how to make the most of it. But if they were able to figure out from my teachings of how it is to look within and say, what kind of experience do you need to have so that it can improve your mindset, it can improve your health, it can improve your productivity and your creativity levels, and you can take that back to your home life and your workplace. What kind of experience do you need to have? And therefore, do you need to maybe experience something off the beaten path, or do you need to engage and meet new people? Do you need to take some self-care time and do some, soul searching, self-reflecting? Maybe it's even a physical health ailment. Maybe they have arthritis, which can limit them from feeling like they can take advantage of a travel experience. But really, maybe then that means go find if you're in a place where there's local hot springs in, a place that only locals know about, that these are type of experiences that people remember. I remember the time that I had to go under this fence and there was a hot spring and it was beautiful, and, there's mountains surrounding it. So these are the type of images and dreams that people think about with travel, but not everyone knows how to achieve those. But if you were to tune within your own self and identify your own personal struggles, fears, wants, needs, obstacles, you can better decide how to use your time, what kind of activities to do, and even where to go sometimes too.
That's really interesting. I have done a decent amount of business travel and have been able to basically do what you've described, where I've either gone early or stayed late or both. And I've traveled enough where I think I've gotten decent at figuring it out. But I can see where if like suddenly you're just in some city and don't know where to look or what you're looking for, that wouldn't necessarily be any more beneficial than just going right back home. So
yeah. And also I talk about empowerment, and that's also like your self-confidence. A lot of people are fearful even to engage in countries where they speak another language. So being able to talk about the empowerment of, how you can still go about and have an experience, and where your fears stemming from that might hold you back from having a great experience, and how can we address those? What do you need to be able to do to be able, whether it's tools, resources, or even shifting your mindset, so that you can take advantage of this experience and leave those fears at the door, because that's what travel's all about, are these different experiences and, the different languages and cultures and perspectives and stuff.
Sure. I'm curious what the scariest thing that you have ever experienced or done has been, and it could be outside of travel, but since we're talking about travel, that can...
Scariest or craziest thing I've ever done. Actually, this was pretty recent, but I do a lot of out of the norm type of things.
Sure.
I mean, I don't jump from airplanes or bungee jump, which can be quite scary. But I was at the GBTA Global Business Travel Association conference this summer in Chicago, and at the first time attendee lunch, and the keynote speaker, her name's Judy Holler. She's fantastic, but she has a connection to Second City in Chicago. And so it's a lot about improv. And I have always had this desire to do some sort of improv just because I love comedy. And she called people on stage to be able, in front of, I think there's like 1,000 people in the room, to do improv. And I was so nervous. I was sitting in the front table in the front of the luncheon. And the first round were 3 people, and I was so nervous I didn't go up there, but I was kind of kicking myself for not doing it. So I'm prepping myself because I know I heard her say that there's going to be one more opportunity for somebody. So I was waiting for it. And finally she said, okay, like I'm going to have one person, whoever gets up here first. So I have long legs and I was in the front. So I embraced up there and I got on stage, and that was terrifying. So we did an improv exercise. So with the blaring lights and 1,000 of people with eyes on me, and having to think on the spot for this activity she was doing. And it was really funny and so fun. My knees were shaking tremendously, but I got such great response afterwards from everyone. So it was honestly one of the best things that I did for the summit, or going to this conference, because it was kind of an icebreaker for the remaining 3 days for people to come up and introduce and say, oh, I saw you up there and stuff. So it was really nice, because it was the first time that I took my business ideas to such a big platform like that. So it was a really terrifying experience, but I'm really glad that I did it.
That's awesome. So when you're hearing her say that, of course, you had to think and act really fast, but I'm curious what helped you push past that fear and use those long legs to get right up on the stage so fast?
Knowing that I would regret it. I knew that if I didn't act in that one moment that I had the chance to get up there, that I knew I was going to kick myself for not taking the opportunity, because I already took such a scary leap to even attend the summit, or calling it summit, the conference. But I said, I am already here. I already invested time and money and everything to be here. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make the most of it. And this is such a great opportunity to get in front of so many people at one time and really put myself out there and really test to see, what kind, learn something about myself. So I had been on stage, of course, many times doing either speaking or competitions or whatnot, but this was the first time doing improv, and also for something that I was representing, like my own business, to a new concept, to a new audience. So I just knew that I didn't want to have any regrets. So I had a split second to make a decision and get up there.
I love that. So you mentioned your business and the different offerings you have. If somebody is listening and they want more, or they just want to follow you and see where you're traveling, where are you available online?
Yeah, absolutely. So I go by Sahara Rose Travels on Instagram, and then also on my Facebook. And then you can also check out my website, thetravelcoachnetwork.com. So if you are a passionate traveler thinking about maybe travel coaching might be for you for a career path, or if you're in the corporate space and own a business and want to integrate travel more into your wellness programs or your business travel programs, you can all find that on my website, thetravelcoachnetwork.com.
Okay, awesome. And so since your career path and stuff has kind of developed, and I guess it's interesting that I assume that that is part of your purpose, but I'm wondering if you know your purpose, because you bring up, the intuitive aspect and really digging deep and choosing why people need to travel. So something tells me that you've at least explored that. I'd love to hear your response to that question.
Yeah. So my purpose, honestly, I believe in my whole heart that I am meant to cause disruption in the travel industry in a good way. So being that person who changes the way that travel is seen and used for the everyday traveler and in the corporate world, and having it not just be a benefit or a luxury or something that people put on the back burner and do once a year, but instead integrating that travel into your self-care plans, into your wellness plans, into your lifestyle in a way that, as a tool and a resource that's going to help you thrive. Many people go to the gym all the time. They go to yoga all the time because they have things that they're working on for themselves, or companies offer different types of programs or benefits, but having travel be at the forefront of that for people, and then not being a second thought or a something that could be a struggle for people to have, but instead using travel as a way to improve their overall well-being, whether it's mentally, physically, spiritually, and improve their soul as well.
That's beautiful. So I'm curious if through all of this, I imagine you're spending time on airplanes, and you said you're a beach bum. So maybe at some point you've cracked open a book. I'm wondering what book recommendations you might have for our listeners and viewers.
Yeah. So one book that really helped me thrive and grow my business this year, and really just more than just business, but really puts your perspective on humanity and gratitude, is from my very first mentor and coach, David Meltzer. And the book is called Connected to Goodness. And he has a podcast called The Playbook, but he's also on entrepreneur.com. But he talks a lot about, the importance of giving back, the importance of, believing in your own journey and into your own process, and really coming from a point of learning from everything that you go through in life. He has such an incredible story that he shares in the book of, once having over $100 million and then losing it all. So, and then rebuilding that. So just being able to, find your place in the world, by helping others as well. So that's a book that has really touched my heart this year, that I would definitely recommend people to read.
That sounds really good. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Speaking of things touching your heart, I always like to ask people if there's any other advice or lessons that they've learned that they wish they learned sooner, or really anything that's just on your heart that you would like to share. So if there's anything that you haven't said that you would like to, I give you the floor to do so now.
Oh, you're so sweet. Yeah, I would just say that there really is you can honestly just do anything you want in life. You can create the life that you only have one life to live. You can create the life that you want, whether despite what anyone says or what has already been established or what seems feasible and possible. You can really push the limits and create whatever you want in life, whether that's in business, for yourself, opportunities, the lifestyle. But it takes effort, and you have to put in the work, and you have to start at some point. A lot of times people have dreams and ideas, but they never put them into action, and therefore they just stay as dreams and ideas. And sometimes those only visit you at nighttime. But if you want a lifetime of, really, like I said, not having any regrets, but also just really finding your true happiness and creating something that's authentic and aligned with yourself really is possible. You can, as long as you put in the work and find a way, there's always a way to do it. There's just so many resources, people, tools, everything out there available for people. It's just up to you to go and find those. So really just having belief that, you can take ownership over your own life and you can create what you want. So if you are living a happy, healthy life that feels authentic to yourself.
That's beautiful. And I think that's perfect advice. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
Now, I'm curious, and I'm surprised that this didn't come up. I think I thought about it and got sidetracked, but I know coming from the Midwest myself, it's pretty unusual to leave and to travel. Like, I moved from Milwaukee to California. I have been here for about 6 years now. And so many people would say like, oh yeah, I would love to move to California, but my family is here. Or just different kind of, I think it's just a different mindset than a lot of other places in the country and in the world. So I'm curious how that has impacted you. Like, does your family think you're crazy because you're not, just living in Wauwatosa? Or
Yeah, no, I definitely understand what you mean. And yeah, I'm definitely different. It's not the norm. My lifestyle is not the norm. My actions are not the norm. But like I said, I'm a single child. I'm an only child from a single mom, but I've been really blessed to have a mom that has been super supportive of anything I want to do in life, despite whatever fears she might have. And of course, as a parent, you're going to worry. I mean, I worry when she goes on a trip. Yeah. So I can imagine how she feels. But, she wants me to be able to thrive in life in any way that I can. So she never put any limitations on me. And because I've always grown up with that freedom mindset, I always believed in myself, and I always believed that, I'll always be okay, and I'll always figure out a way, and I'll always be able to do what I want, and create a life and have a life that makes me happy, on my own terms and at my own pace. So just, she likes that I travel because I take her to places around the world too. So she's pretty glad, as so are her friends, that she has a daughter that travels, because she's gone. I've taken her to, she's been on, I think, 4 different continents so far. So she's quite the travel bug herself, as are her friends. So she's pretty glad. I mean, she loves when I am home, of course, but, I have a good core group of people in my home place that really support and encourage what I do. And that's all really that you need in life is, people who understand you, and even if they don't agree with what you do all the time or where you go or anything, they support and understand you and know that it's your journey to have, and that's what I have. So I've been pretty lucky.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So I'm going to say my final question, I feel like it's a perfect segue for it, is, well, there might be follow-up questions, but if 8-year-old Sahara Rose had a crystal ball and could see, the next 20 plus years to where you are now. And then I know you said you're running that conference or keynoting it. You have an idea of the foreseeable future. Maybe you have the next couple trips planned. On a scale of 1 to 11, how excited would little you be for where you are now and where you're about to go?
Oh, for sure an 11. More than that. Yeah. No, it's just, I'm really excited. I mean, I'm even just excited for 2020. So I can imagine what 8-year-old me would be excited for, but yeah, no, definitely an 11.
That's awesome. I had a feeling it was going to be up there. Well, thank you so much for taking time, especially when you're home, maybe for a limited time, to chat with me and share your story with me and our viewers and listeners. I really appreciate it. And then I'm sure there are countless people who you've helped have amazing journeys and trips that are really blessed to have you in their life. So thank you for what you're doing in the world as well.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad. This conversation was super fun, and it's really nice to meet you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I think you will really enjoy checking out her links and book recommendations. You can do all of that at www.boldmovespodcast.com. I highly encourage you to do that, and I hope that you like what you find there. Now, while I am making requests and suggestions, I would love to invite you to share this podcast with anyone who you think would find it helpful. I also would love it if you would subscribe so that you don't miss any upcoming episodes, including a challenge coming this Friday that I think is really fantastic and thoughtful from Sahara. And I would, of course, love some great reviews on Apple Podcasts. My goal is that this podcast itself will inspire and educate people on how to go after their dreams and how taking these risks will pay off. And the more people who hear it, the more people I can potentially inspire. And that is where your help comes in, with sharing, with subscribing, with helping the algorithm from Apple realize that we are a great podcast worth listening to. I would love it if you did that. Now, also, if you know somebody who would be a good guest, or if you would be a good guest yourself, head over to mandybryce.com/guest and fill out the form, and I will potentially get back to you for scheduling. All right, that is all for now. As always, be bold and have a sparkly day. Bye-bye.